Willow Creek Springs presents Healthy Living with your host, Joe Grumbine.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Grumbine, and today we're going to explore overcoming cancer and other obstacles, and this is part 21. So, if you don't know, in October of last year, I was diagnosed with a squamous cell carcinoma. It's a cancer that can be deadly and can be very troublesome, fast moving, but apparently, the way that I have it, or the reason I got it, so they say, it's very treatable. The problem is the treatment that they want to give me first is radiation, which I'm not all that interested in. So I've begun, or not begun, for the past 3 months, 4 months almost, I've been exploring alternative pathways to killing this cancer and restoring my health. And I currently have about a baseball-sized lump sticking out of my neck, and it's uh, got now some discomfort right at the area where it was biopsied. It's sore. Most of it's not sore at all. It's grown, unfortunately, enough that I can notice it. It's sort of wrapping around my jawbone a little bit, and I'm trying to reverse that without chemo or radiation. And while I'm doing this, I'm sharing my story. And the concept of this is not to say you go do what I'm doing. I'm just showing you the methodology, the way that I'm exploring, testing, trying, searching, being very proactive in solving this problem. Um, and realize everybody's cancer is unique. Everybody's disease or health is unique. And when we're having the conversations on this podcast, never am I saying do exactly what I'm doing because I did it. I'm saying, here's what I did. See if you can gain from it. And we have a lot of guests on this show that offer their perspectives on solutions to problems. I'm not declaring anybody is above reproach. I'm just saying this is a great place to get together and listen to some real people talk about some real things. And I think we can find some real solutions here together. I'm working very hard on creating the Willow Springs Wellness Community, which is a company that is a consulting business, and it offers Willow Creek Springs natural products as well as other quality natural products. It offers access to plant medicines and practitioners. It offers a retreat center with Gardens of Hope as therapeutic horticulture, a botanical garden. It's connected to a number of veterans programs. And, you know, we're all about creating a community where you can get the truth and some real answers and some real solutions without being tied up in the political arena of modern medicine and pharma, insurance companies, and the like. If anybody has ever suffered a real debilitating disease or ailment, you all know, unless you've got a chunk of wealth behind you, you're going to be in for some struggles. And so we're learning together how to solve these problems. And I am doing a number of subscription only episodes and if you're interested in being a guest on one of these, be prepared to be very raw and honest and transparent because that's the primary reason I'm doing it. Um, I'm accepting the donations of this in order to support this program and possibly my cancer treatment. And I'm not sure yet. I'm sort of looking at what the feedback is from the subscribers, if they're willing to donate towards that, or if I need to go a different direction. But if you are, I'm going to give you your money's worth. That's for damn sure. The topics that I touch on in these episodes where I'm getting into touching on the topics with the subscriber issues. I go very deep and get pretty explicit about what is happening, what's going on, and I'm willing to go as deep as we need to. So let me know if you're interested in participating in as a guest, or if you're looking to support this work that we're doing, please get in touch. So recently, as I've been going along, I've been working with a diet program that's pretty extreme, and I started out with the notion that cancer loves to eat sugar. So I made a lot of dietary changes to remove sugar and carbohydrates from my diet in a keto-ish, paleo-ish sort of diet. Um, One of the keys to my diet is I'm not going to let myself suffer and just not be able to do certain things. There are foods I don't eat right now, mostly just processed foods, but um, I will allow myself very small portions of foods that are off my diet because I want to be able to experience and ex experience joy from food, that even if that food isn't a benefit to my well-being, or maybe my cancer is going to try to eat it. I can transmute this. I'm working with uh, capable people and a capable God, and I'm very conscious about the things we can do to make changes to things and ourselves. So I'm going down a route that is a little more common sense, hopefully, than dogmatic. And so in this path, I have been eating a lot more protein because I was under the impression that that was a good move and that we could grow, get strong, work out heavier. Um, and there's a lot of joy in protein-rich foods. So I was eating, more sardines, more salmon, more good fatty fish, good quality meat. The things that I was eating were good quality. Dairy, cheese, is a love of mine, as you may know or may not. And in what I just came upon was a podcast that I've been listening to for a little while, and I don't remember the guy's name right off the hand, but I will, and I'll share it because it's a good podcast. And it's a doctor that talks about integrative therapy, integrative medicine, which is using both Western and traditional medicines. And it's not saying, well, we won't do surgery because we only do herbs and potions. And it's not saying we will not do herbs and potions because we only do chemotherapy or surgery. It's saying we're going to look at all the options and pick out the best one. This doctor acknowledges the uniqueness of cancers and the difficulty of everybody's problem in solving everybody's own personal health issues. And so he gets into it. And I happened to stumble upon, somebody had told me about a book that was involved with fasting. And if you know me, I'm heavily involved in fasting, and I'm working out sort of the details about my specific fasting protocols. But I do believe strongly in fasting, and I believe it can be very therapeutic for most people. And somebody told me about a book about fasting and killing cancer, and I was looking for it, and I couldn't find the book in my audio program that I work with, but I did find the author. And it turned out the author was this guy that does this podcast that I was talking about. And I was sitting in the sauna the other night, and I said, I'm going to listen to this. And I just popped it in there. And the episode that it came on was talking about methionine. And methionine is a amino acid, and it's a precursor amino that some of the other building blocks are made from. It's a necessary amino acid for some cells, including immune cells, T cells, nerve cells, muscle cells. And so you can't um, eliminate it from your body and remain healthy. That's not a good notion to think you can do that. Um, but this Dr. Hoffman, back in the 50s, I believe, discovered there was a study on removing elements out of certain rodents' diets, and they discovered that these tumors, when these mice were fed a diet that was removing methionine from it, that these tumors stopped growing. And this observation led to some studies, and it really piqued my interest. And so as I started to study this, there's actually a system called the Hoffman effect that describes how cancer cells can shift, or not. The Hoffman effect isn't about the shift, but there's an effect that describes the metabolism of glucose from cancer cells. And this Hoffman effect talks about the metabolism of methionine from the bloodstream. And the articles written about it talk about the cancer's addiction to methionine. And that, in a number of studies, people have reduced or removed methionine from their diet and noticed that, their tumors stop spreading. And so I started doing some studying and came up with a site that talked about the methionine content of a bunch of foods. And that led me to really exploring a change of my diet, which would unfortunately move up a few of the sugar and carb rich foods in up the notch a little bit because they're very low in methionine, but can still provide some good nutrition. And most of the foods that I know and love and enjoy, the meats and the dairy, um, I'm going to have to reduce significantly in order to manage this. So I reached out to this Dr. Hoffman. Lo and behold, he responded. Um, and I reached out because I came to discover that there's a compound called methionine A's, which is an enzyme, I believe, that causes the human body to lower the methionine amount in your bloodstream. So now there's an antidote for this methionine. And so as I thought, oh, cool, I'll just go and get me some methionine A's. Well, it turns out nobody makes it. And so when I reached out to this doctor, it was because he has a company that does make it, and apparently it does not. Methionine does not. The human body does not create it by itself. It requires a food source to be made. So they found a way to render it to purify it, and this particular doctor has it. Well, there's been a lot of doctors in different alternative therapy clinics that I've been talking to. And I know there's all kinds of peptide therapies and all kinds of IV immunotherapies. And I have barely begun to explore a lot of these, and mostly because they're just expensive and I don't have a budget to afford it. So I'm just like, well, you can't have what you can't buy. And that's really what's slowed down a lot of this work, is just not having the resources at my fingertips to purchase it. So part of the reason we're doing this podcast is to let people know about this. If this is something that affects you or a loved one, and you might want to learn about what research we're doing and how we're getting to the answers we're getting to, well, might want to support this podcast, which I implore, at least talk about it, tell people about it, make some notes, give me some feedback, let me know, send me a text, a message, whatever, and let's guide this thing into be, the best resource for healthy living we can make it. So we have this compound called methionine, and it turned out that this doctor got back to me, gave me a phone number. This morning I called him. We had a great conversation. He referred me to another cancer doctor, but he's in Beverly Hills, so I'm sure he's going to be cheap and reasonable. And then I come to find out that this methionine A's is going to cost me $1,000 a month to be able to get it. So I don't have those resources at my fingertips right now. I'm putting it out there. If you think that this is something worth supporting and exploring, and if you know anybody that's got cancer and wants to learn more about this, it has huge promise with virtually no negative side effects that I can find out now. So, um, Dr. Hoffman has agreed to come on the podcast in the future, and so I'm looking forward to that. We're working on scheduling right now. And frankly, I'm going to go deep into this in the, um, the subscriber issues. I'm working some bugs out. I have one subscriber that was having a hard time accessing, and I'm going to work the bugs out of that. But there are now subscriber issues that you can um, go into the site, subscribe, and access, and it will support the project that is the Healthy Living Podcast. And I implore you to let's make this thing important. I certainly hope to God you never are faced with the situation where you have to deal with our healthcare system because of a life threatening disease or injury. And if you do, I hope you are able to find a resource like we're creating here, and let's find out together. Let's get well. Let's find these answers. And thank you for all your support. We will talk to you next time. This has been Joe Grumbine with the Healthy Living Podcast. This has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. We produce this show so that people can share their stories, people that have overcome obstacles, people that are undergoing obstacles. We're building a community of health-minded individuals. If you're interested in supporting the show, please leave a review on the platform you're listening to it on. If you're interested in becoming a guest, please send an email to itsjoegrumbine@gmail.com, or you can send a note into the notes section of the podcast. All right. Well, thank you for supporting this show, and we hope you've enjoyed it.